Hello and welcome to Oweleketv News. I am Confidence Uko. Thank you for joining us. And now the news headlines. Neither Atiku nor Tinubu won the election, PDP witness says in court. The court admits Peter Obi's evidence against Tinubu. Ogun State PDP governorship candidate beaten in court. And in sports, Enyimaba wins 1-0 against Lobi Stars. Welcome back, and now the news in details. The outgoing Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has taken over as Chief of Staff for former President Muhammadu Buhari from Ibrahim Gambari. Tinubu named Gbajabiamila his Chief of Staff on Friday. Gbajabiamila thanked the President in a tweet and announced that he would assume office on January 14th. He also promised to work hard in his new role. In the general election, Gbajabiamila, who has served in the lower chamber for 20 years, was re-elected to represent Surulere, one federal seat. He had previously won 5 consecutive elections and was first elected to the House of Representatives in 2003. Before being chosen as Speaker in 2019, the Speaker had previously held the positions of Minority Whip, Minority Leader, and Majority Leader. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has suspended its scheduled strike in response to the increase in petrol prices brought on by the elimination of subsidies. The union had organized a nationwide strike and requested that the federal government reinstate the previous rate of 197 naira in order to put an end to the strike. However, the government had filed a suit to prevent the strike, and the court ordered NLC not to go on strike. When government representatives and NLC officials were at the presidential villa in Abuja for further consultations after initial impasse, news of the court order broke. The strike will not take place as scheduled, the NLC declared at the conclusion of the meeting that some actions had been implemented. The Labour centers and the federal government to review and establish the framework for completion of the rehabilitation of the nation's refineries. The federal government to provide a framework for the maintenance of roads and expansion of rail networks across the country. All other demands submitted by the TUC to the federal government will be assessed by the Joint Committee. Moving on to other news stories. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has stated that raising the current minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 200,000 naira is one of the union's demands to the federal government during the ongoing discussion about the withdrawal of fuel subsidies. Based on a document that lists the demands, the government must keep the price of petroleum at current levels. A representative of the state governors must be included in the agreement, and governors must be parties to the execution of the new pay. The document was jointly signed by Festus Osifo and Nuhu Toro in their respective capacities as President and General Secretary. Other demands made were tax holiday for employees in the public and private sectors who earn less than 200,000 naira or $500 per month, PMS allowance to be introduced for those earning between 200,000 naira and 500,000 naira or $500 to $1,000. Exchange rate for PMS retailing in the country must be kept within a limit of plus minus 2% for the next 10 years, where the fluctuation is more than 2%. The minimum wage must be increased, and the maximum wage must be maintained. Likewise, they called for establishing an intervention fund where the government will pay 10 naira per litre on all locally consumed PMS. The fund's main goal is to address persistent and drawn-out national problems. According to Kwara State, through its empowerment project, which offers through training programs, it has equipped over 6,000 teachers with modern, scientifically based pedagogy. In a statement commemorating the first anniversary of Kwara Learn, it was said that the teachers also got ongoing mentoring and professional development, assuring the delivery of high-quality instruction. The statement claimed that by giving more than 120,000 students access to a top-notch education, the learning gap was closed and learning gains were accelerated. As indicated by Quarrel, remedial interventions were used to make sure that students studied at levels appropriate for their ages and grades. It claimed that since the initiative started, it has improved attendance and implemented real-time instruction delivery throughout the scheduled teaching session, promoting professionalism in schools. It purported to have given away over 1 million textbooks and related materials. Quarrel said it planned to extend its reach to other 6 regions, which include Edu, Ifelodun, Isin, Kayama, Muro, and Oyon, currently operating in 10 of Kwara State's 16 local government regions. We'll now be going on a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back from the break. Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, the immediate past governor of Kano State, said on Monday that Abba Kabir Yusuf was misinformed and that the facility holding the relocated Hasiya Bayero Hospital was never sold. You recall that the new governor yesterday said the hospital was sold by the former governor and it has been revoked. Speaking on behalf of the former governor in a statement explaining the hospital situation, the former Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, Malam Muhammad Garba, said that the hospital's services had only been temporarily suspended due to its relocation following the opening of the Khalifa Sheikh Iskaya Rabiu Pediatric Hospital, one of the abandoned facilities that the Ganduje-led administration had inherited. The new pediatric hospital, which has additional bed spaces, is now offering higher quality services in addition to acting as a training center and the place for research. Garba further clarified that it was proposed to transform the old Hasiya Bayero into a malnutrition treatment center to function as a referral facility for the treatment of malnutrition. The commissioner added that all other health institutions in the state, as well as a factory for producing ready-to-use therapeutic foods for the treatment of malnutrition at the center, were also recommended. He said that a technical committee had been established by Ganduje's administration to monitor the conversion process and had even visited a facility comparable to one at Maradi in the Niger Republic as part of a study tour in order to establish a suitable center. According to a statement, Garba stressed that up until May 29 this year, the facility had not been sold to a person or group and continued to be an asset of the state government. And now over to the election petition tribunal story. The Labour Party and Peter Obi, its presidential candidate, yesterday submitted additional certified true copies of INEC Form EC8As containing polling unit result papers from 8 states of the Federation as exhibits. Despite vehement objection from the respondents' lawyers, the results were ultimately admitted as evidence by the Presidential Election Petition Court. Obi and LP are contesting the presidential election results that were announced in favor of President Tinubu in more than 17 states and 18,000 polling places. His petition also claims that there were overvoting in several areas of the Southwest. When the hearing resumed on Monday, a senior member of the petitioner's legal team informed the 5-member panel presided over by Justice Haruna Samani that he will keep submitting some of the INEC certified forms EC8A and EC8C and EC8D when they became available for 8 states. He then submitted the INEC form EC8A's polling unit results for Ebonyi State, which had 13 LGAs exhibit PP1 to PP13, Nasarawa, which had 13 LGAs, Delta, which had 25 LGAs, Kaduna State, which had 23 LGAs, and Imo, which had 26 LGAs. Mrs. Valeria Zinge, who took over from Anichebe at that point, presented the CTC of the voting unit result for the state of Ondo, 18 LGAs, Sokoto, 7 LGAs, and Kogi, 21 LGAs. The legal team for INEC, Tinubu, Shatima, and the APC, however, strenuously objected to the document's inclusion and said their arguments will be presented before their final address. The polling unit results were subsequently entered as evidence by Justice Samani, who designated them as Obi's exhibits against the respondents. A member of Obi's legal team notified the court in the early stages of the proceedings about an interrogatory application they had filed asking INEC specific questions about assessing electoral materials. He stated that the questions and responses the team is trying to elicit from INEC are relevant to the petitioner's case and should be considered at trial. Counsels for INEC and Tinubu, however, argued against the application since they still had time to submit their reply. The application, according to INEC counsel, was a waste of time. Moving on to other stories, Usman Baba, the Inspector General of Police, reported that in the previous 5 months, 3,619 arrests had been made and 316 abducted victims had been freed. Baba said this yesterday at a gathering of strategic police managers for June 2023 in Abuja. He said 1,630 cases spanning a range of serious offenses, including terrorism, secessionism, kidnapping, armed robbery, banditry, and the proliferation of firearms, were documented during the same period from January to May 2023. According to the IGP, data and crime analysis from January to May 2023 showed that the country's internal security situation is largely calm and improving, with a drop in major criminal incidents across the 6 geopolitical zones. IGP Baba added that over the same time period, 486 different firearms, including AK-47 rifles and locally made automatic weapons, as well as 4,072 different calibers of live ammunition and other incriminating goods connected to numerous serious crimes were also seized. The police chief stated that despite the magnitude of successes noted during the review period and the successful democratic transition that took place on the 29th of May 2023, there are still ongoing and projected threats throughout the nation, including the fallout from the removal of food subsidies with the emerging threats of industrial strike action. He emphasized that in order to ensure that the current downward trend in crime across the nation is sustained, the Nigerian police force will continue to leverage the backing of the federal government, reevaluate internal security dynamics, and modify policies. On the court grounds at Isabo, Abeokuta during the Ogun State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal's first meeting on Monday, members of the PDP were being targeted and beaten by hoodlums who were allegedly political thugs. Governor Dakpo Abiodun of the All Progressives Congress was declared the winner of the state's March 18th governorship election, but the PDP's Ladi Adebutu is contesting the decision in court. The political thugs attacked the tribunal's grounds while the session was in progress, brandishing canes and freely beating opposition members. These criminals pummeled the victims before chasing them away. Shagun Showumi, a previous PDP candidate for governor in the state, was one of those who were assaulted. Showumi responded to the incident by lamenting the fact that security personnel were powerless to stop the attacks on PDP members. Despite police barricades at either end of the road leading to the court, the hoodlums continued to attack their targets. Moving on to other news stories. On Monday, Mr. Ibrahim Hamza, a witness, said before the Presidential Election Petition Court, PEPC, seating in Abuja, that he had been forced into signing the Nasarawa State presidential election results. As the 10 petitioners witness, Hamza testified before the 5-member panel chaired by Justice Haruna Simani. He claimed to have worked as a state collation agent for the People's Democratic Party during the presidential election that took place on the 25th of February. He said in court that the INEC representatives had informed him they wouldn't provide him a copy of the election results unless he signed them. The witness informed the court that there were 3,256 polling places in the state overall and that his party, the PDP, had representatives in each of the units and wards. The witness said a copy of the presidential election results from Nasarawa State that was already on display in court had been tampered with and insisted that the copy he had signed was a clean copy. According to the results presented to the court, the Labour Party won the presidential election with 191,361 total votes, or 35.40% of the votes cast in Nasarawa State, he claimed. Hamza testified before the court that INEC's technology malfunctioned when the results were supposed to be uploaded following the election. Mr. Abraham David, the 9th witness who also testified in court, said Atiku received barely 15% of the votes in the FCT. When asked during the cross-examination if he was aware that Atiku had not received up to 25% of the vote in the FCT and was thus, according to the argument of his party, ineligible to be returned as the election's victor. Mr. David responded, I agree that having not received 25%, he is not entitled to be returned as president. Even Tinubu did not achieve a score of 25%. Up next is international news after the break. Welcome back from the break. John Rowley, James Trusty, and Lindsay Halligan, lawyers for former President Donald Trump, met with Special Prosecutor Jack Smith and federal prosecutors at the Justice Department Monday morning around 10 a.m., according to two persons with knowledge of the situation. After weeks of requesting a meeting with top federal law enforcement authorities, Trump's attorneys finally got their wish. Following a discussion that lasted little under 2 hours in the main justice building, the former president's legal team left. Moving over to sports news, Enyimaba's first victory in the ongoing 2022-2023 Nigeria Professional Football League Super 6 playoffs, a 1-0 victory over Lobi Stars on Monday in the opening match of the day caused coach Finidi George to exhale with relief. Emeka Obioma, who currently leads the league in scoring, was in fine form as his 16th goal of the year was plenty for Enyimaba to defeat their opponents. In the 15th minute, the striker took advantage of goalie Daniel Atsaka's bad decision-making over long throw-in by nodding into an empty net. The People's Elephant held on to win despite Lobi's pressure to increase their point total to 4 after drawing 2-2 with Remo Stars in their opening match on Saturday. And just before we go, we'll be joining Hadiza Galadima for entertainment tidbits.
Thank you, Confidence, and welcome to Entertainment Tidbits. Nigerian Afrobeat sensations Omale and Area Star joins Wizkid, 2 Chainz, A$AP Rocky, amongst other A-list international artists on a computer-animated superhero film album soundtrack, Superman Across the Spider-Verse. The action-adventure movie was released on the 2nd of June 2023. And still on international entertainment news, Blink Empire star Anna Shea passes away at 62. In a confirmation by her family, the actress died unexpectedly after suffering a stroke. May the Lord bless her soul. And now over to the Nigerian movie industry, where popular Nollywood actress Iyabo Ojo received 7 days ultimatum by the Lagos state government to pay the sum of 18 million naira as personal income tax or risk jail term. In response to the letter received on Monday, the actress shared a picture of the bill on her Instagram page, calling out Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the Lagos state government over the exorbitant tax. That's it on Entertainment Tidbits. I am Hadiza Galadima. Back to you, Confidence.
Thank you so much, Hadiza, and that's it for the news on Oweleketv. But before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. Neither Atiku nor Tinubu won the election, PDP witness says in court. The court admits Peter Obi's evidence against Tinubu. Ogun State PDP governorship candidate beaten in court. And in sports, Enyimaba wins 1-0 against Lobi Stars. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Oweleketv, and you can also follow our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Oweleketv. You can visit our website at oweleke.tv to catch up with all our news stories. Till I come your way next time with more interesting news stories, I am Confidence Oko. Thank you for watching.